Welcome back to another episode of the Strive for 25 podcast. And I've got an amazing guest on today, Samuel Adeniran. And Samuel is a St. Louis City soccer player spending time with us today. I'm looking forward to this. This is going to be an amazing story here. This gentleman is an entrepreneur, got a lot of things going on. And I think just a lot to learn for somebody that's in their early 20s and doing things here. So Sam, thank you so much for making time for us today.
No, thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it.
So I'm going to jump into something, really big. Okay. Mm-hmm. So first off, St. Louis, we're a baseball town, okay? Also a hockey town. Football left us a few years ago. So St. Louis City soccer has been a big deal for the city. And, the turnouts have been amazing. The atmosphere at the field has been just electric. And, I met you for the first time today. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And a buddy of ours, Jeremy Moore, connected us. And so he kind of gave me a little bit of background on what was going on, with your real estate purchase a few years ago, last year, and other entrepreneurial things that you had going on. But I know that you spent some time in San Antonio on loan. Mm-hmm. And speaking of electricity, you came back your first game and scored 2 goals. So let's jump into that. Tell me what was going through your brain getting on that field that first game back.
Man, it was a great feeling, to be able to come back and be able to help the team. In that way, obviously had a kind of not of a good run of games before I had came back, and then, given the opportunity with a bunch of other guys who actually, hadn't gotten that many games as well, we were able to, have a great game, and I mean, I'm grateful, it was amazing, especially to go into San Jose, who was unbeaten there for a while. They had gone unbeaten at home for a while. So to be able to get in there and do that was great.
So, we talked a little bit earlier about preparation and some of the things you have to do to be able to be on your game at all times. And coming back, you have that opportunity to get into the game. Walk us through kind of the preparation and what it takes to be on point every single game.
I think I thrive and I do best when, number one, I get enough rest. Big thing for me is getting enough rest, getting enough sleep. That's enough recovery. That's a big thing for me. And then, mentally being ready, pushing everything else out, focusing on the task at hand, taking everything one step at a time. That's something that I think is very important for you to do as an athlete. So, mostly on my game days, you'll catch me chilling at home, Most of the time when we play on the weekends, so I'm probably watching other games that are going on, and just, learning from those games too, seeing what I can do, seeing how I can attack defenders and stuff like that, and I like to pray as well. I also like to read, just calm myself before games, and then, get myself pumped up with music, that's another good thing.
So listening to your body, getting the rest, having the downtime to prepare. From a standpoint of being a competitor, right? Soccer is a very physical game. It's an endurance game. We talked about the mental side of things and whatnot. Like on an off day standpoint, what are some of the things that you can do to try to get that edge on the competition or the edge on, those that are coming for your position?
Man, for example, yesterday I went into the gym at the facility, and there's this workout that I learned from Douglas Costa, who plays for LA Galaxy now, but he played for Brazil, played for Juventus, played for some of the best teams in the world. He was one of the best players in the world at one point. So there's this specific workout that he does after every single game. And from when I was about 18, I would do it after every single game. It's kind of like a recovery workout. And so I think just having that routine of things that you do and, and taking care of your body, because obviously the body that I'm using now is my tool. It's what I use to make money. It's what I use to have my career. So if I'm not taking care of it, if I'm not eating the right things, if I'm not getting enough rest, if I'm not, just fueling my body the way I'm supposed to, and taking care of it and realizing when it needs rest and when it needs to work, then, if I'm not doing that, then I'm not going to be at the top of my game.
So you mentioned that recovery program or recovery, skill set or exercises, kind of on the mental side of things, any processes that you do to get ready for the game or to prepare for the game, anything else like that to make sure you're ready to go?
Every single game, I'd say, in terms of a mental aspect of it, prayer is something that's really big for me. Like just sitting down and just communing with God and just like being still in that moment, you know, and self-encouragement, encouraging yourself, and then also just, I like to tell myself and other people as well that I know the talent that God has blessed me with, you know, and yeah, you have to believe. You have to believe in that. You have to believe in God. You have to believe in yourself. You have to believe that, yeah, I can do this, you know. And so I think the way you talk to yourself, you know, and also the way you allow others to talk to you, you know, and also what you allow, you know, to come into your space is very important, because it's very easy for you to get discouraged. And, you know, and especially in this sport, you know, you have one bad game and all of a sudden people are talking bad about you on social media. Hence why, you know, I also think that I try to stay off of social media as much. Not just because of that, but just in general, you know, there's good things on social media, you know, but also I believe that too much social media and stuff like that isn't good for you. So, you know, it's good to have that alone time and that down times to just read, you know, and to just pray and to just relax. And so I think in terms of the mental aspect of it, that's the biggest thing that I would say is what I focus on.
Gotcha. Yeah. Letting in the things that you allow
exactly
to come in and filling it with the things that you want. Like you mentioned, prayer and your workouts and your vision and your goals and all those things. You know, the reason why I think it's so important to talk about this stuff is that, you know, you've had a journey. You're 24 years old. You know, you're getting some great playing time with the team, and you had a journey. But I mean, it hasn't, you know, been smooth sailing at every moment, right? There's ups and downs, and that's part of the journey, you know. And as an entrepreneur and as somebody, you know, trying to build wealth in this environment, especially right now with the cost of living and inflation going up so much. And, you know, in my desk, I'm in mortgage, and I'm talking to people that are struggling to pay their bills, let alone trying to invest and trying to find a way to be able to get ahead and have an edge and get prepared mentally. Because, you know, it's like failure, right? Failure happens every day, you know, and it's what we do from that failure, what we do, how do we react, that self-talk, you know, we can't change the past, but we can change the future kind of a mindset.
Exactly.
And so, you know, people are struggling. So, okay, well, what can we do to be able to get ahead? And so, you know, on this channel, we're trying to talk about different strategies and mindsets and different tactics to be able to compete every day and have what we call, you know, financial freedom, or, you know, have living life with the power of choice to be able to spend the time you want to do. And we had a little bit of a chat a few minutes ago about some of the entrepreneurial things that you have going on. So let's just take a quick few minutes and just talk about some of the just high level things you have going on, you know, real estate, the clothing brand. Just kind of give us a quick overview on what you have going on.
Yeah. So as of right now, I'm currently a homeowner. You know, I bought my first home at the beginning of this year, you know, with the help of Jeremy, you know, great guy. So yeah, I was able to finally get my first home, but that was a long time coming. It definitely wasn't just a decision. I just woke up one day and was like, oh, I want to buy a house. And then 2 days later, oh, I own a house. You know, it was something that I was thinking about even a few years back, you know, and I was preparing, saving, you know, putting myself in a position to where I can do that. And yeah, I think it was a great decision. One of the best decisions that I've ever made was to get that home, you know, and real estate is definitely something that interests me. It's definitely something that I've learned from my father, that it's important, you know, and people always need a place to live. So I mean, it's really that simple. There are certain things that people will always need. People will always need medical care because people are always going to get sick, sadly. People are always going to need a place to put their head. People are always going to need a car to drive. People are always going to need, you know, I don't know, toothpaste, you know. There are certain things that people always need, and I believe that homes are one of those things, you know. And so to be able to get my first home, you know, and just see the growth and just see where I came from, and, you know, and how I started to being able to have my first home, it's truly a blessing, you know. And then also I have my clothing brand, Lapse Dynasty Clothing. Yeah, that's another form of entrepreneurship that, you know, is very important to me. I believe it's good to have something of your own, you know, something that you own, something that you put out, you know. Me personally, I want to retire early. And in terms of retirement, it's not like I just kind of want to sit down and not do anything all day. I still want to work, but in terms of I want to have financial freedom. I want to be able to make certain decisions, that if I didn't have the money, I wouldn't be able to make. I want to be able to go traveling. I want to be able to relax. I want to be able to, put my kids in nice schools. I want to be able to, fund different projects and stuff like that. And also I want to be able to give back to the community. And I believe that if you have wealth, and if you have wealth that is, if you have money that's making more money for you without you having to actually do the work, that's the quickest way to get ahead. So yeah, definitely, my clothing brand and my home are like my two biggest babies right now. So
yeah, and VAPS. So you were talking about how some of the gear is literally made in Nigeria.
Yes, it is.
So VAPS, can you explain a little more about that and kind of what's going on there?
Yeah, so I actually have it. Pull it up. But yeah, this is our kaftan, Kaftan. It's a Nigerian native wear. This is what, if you go to Nigeria, you'll see most people wearing. Sometimes even if they went to the grocery store, they'll wear it out. Comes with a set of pants, matching pants. So yeah, but yeah, it's pretty much, VAPS was a company that was started by the queen of the house, my mom. So I started around 2017, and she just wanted us to have something that was our own, that was for the family. And VAPS is an acronym. It stands for Victor, Ayo, Pelu, Samuel, which is the order of my siblings in age. So Victor, the oldest; Ayo, the second oldest; Pelu, my sister, the third; and then fourth, Samuel, me. So yeah, it's a family-owned brand that wants to spread the culture of Nigeria, and it wants to bring people closer together, through our culture. And I always tell people, as I was telling you before, anyone can wear it. Doesn't matter where you're from, doesn't matter your background, doesn't matter, who you are. Anyone is capable of pulling it off and looking good in this. I always tell people this because people always come up to me and they're always like, man, I really like, what you're wearing is so nice, but I don't think I can pull it off. And I'm like, hey, don't knock it until you try it. Try one on and see, and you'll realize that anyone can pull this off, man. It's just confidence, So yeah.
Because I think, you mentioned one of your friends from Cameroon.
Yeah.
Had specially made with certain colors, right?
Yes, he did. It was actually, my god brother. He had one of these kaftans made, and it was for his wedding, and he actually made them. We made them for him in Cameroon the flag colors, So yeah, it was a great feeling to be able to do that. And also my teammate that I played with in San Antonio, who had a wedding, we made a suit for him, and yeah, it's great to see the smile on people's faces when they wear something and they can truly feel the culture. I also made a kaftan for my teammate as well that he wore to one of the playoff games, and and he fell in love with it. And before I made it for him, he was like, man, can I pull it off? And I was like, you can pull it off, and so just being able to see people smile and see people enjoy wearing something that comes from your culture, it feels great. So I'm definitely grateful that I was able to do that for him and for everyone else.
And just a quick thing in terms of listeners out there, where can they find some of the stuff online?
Yeah. So you can find a lot of our natives in terms of images and stuff like that. You can find them on our website on vapsdc.com, as well as our suits. You can see different examples and different imagery of them. Obviously, everything that we make is custom. So when we make a suit for you, it's not going to be, worn by someone else. Everything that we make for you is based off of what you want, how you want it to look, how you want it to be made. So we don't necessarily have a pop-up shop or like a shop where you can just go in and be like, oh, I want that specific one I saw him wearing. Now, if you really want something that I've worn or that you've seen someone else wearing so bad, I'm sure we can definitely make something in a similar aspect. But that's just one of the great things about our company is that everything is custom and catered to you, how you want it done, And so, I think that's definitely something that is in clothing brands is not as prominent, because in a lot of clothing brands, they kind of just want to put out, different material, and they're like, okay, like we're just going to sell a bunch of material to different people, but you kind of have people wearing the exact same thing. Whereas with this, it's exactly what you want, how you want it to fit, what you want to have on it, and so you can show off your style because everyone has different styles, so.
So you got the formal wear suits side of things,
Yes.
which is more, I guess, traditional in terms of how you would see it in, here in the United States.
Exactly.
You've got the kaftan style. And then you also have new stuff coming.
Yes,
It's
we
more
do.
casual, I guess you'd say, right?
Yes, we do. We also have new stuff coming. This is one of the, in terms of style, we're going to have more, I guess you could say, casual and modern type, clothing. We're going to also have different things done. I also have a bag as well. This is a duffel bag that was made by my company, and then as well as the duffel bag, we also have this is what I would use to every game. This is a toiletry bag. And so we make toiletry bags, we make these duffel bags. We also have a cologne as well. We also have cologne. This isn't cologne, but we make cologne, different things. I did not have the cologne with me here, but we make cufflinks. So that's cool. Yeah, we make cufflinks. So for your suits, if you ever need cufflinks, we have those. They have the VAPS symbol on them, and if you don't like that style, we have this style as well, just all sorts of different things that you can, different accessories and things that you can use and wear, and and we're broadening our accessories, to all sorts of things. But I guess you can say this is only the beginning. So,
well, I know when we were talking earlier that you mentioned your involvement in the business is more on the design, right? And the creative side of things. Is that something that you've always had? Did you develop it? I mean, what tell me a little bit about that background.
Man, I've always been kind of, I don't want to say artistic in a way, but I've always loved clothing, and I've always loved trying on different things, and I've always loved, working with different styles, and having, my own style, and so I like to look at different things, different styles, and try and implement my own touch onto it, and that's always been from a young age, and just in the clothes I wear, and stuff like that, and also being a model, I just love being able to express myself in that way. So yeah, in terms of design, man, it obviously, I didn't start off being good. I'm not gonna lie, I sucked. I sucked, and to a degree, I still kind of suck, I still kind of suck to a degree, but I'm definitely not going to act like I'm the best one out. I'm not the best one out there. I'm probably not even, I'm not that great. But, I definitely believe that when you want to do something, and when you have a desire to do something, and when you have just a will to want to make something, you'll work at it, and it's the same thing with my clothing brand, same thing in soccer, if there's a certain move that I want to work on, if there's a certain, style of play that I want to do, that my coaches want me to play in, and let's say I'm not used to it, you got to work at it. You got to wake up every single day, and you got to be like, I'm going to intentionally put myself in an uncomfortable position so that I learn how to do what I need to do. I heard LeBron once say, I don't think it was LeBron, I think it was Mbappe, but it was in a podcast with LeBron, or no, sorry, Marcus Rashford. So yeah, he said to LeBron, he was like, you have to get comfortable in uncomfortable situations, or you have to be comfortable in uncomfortable situations, and I believe that is so true, especially as an athlete, and just in anything that you do, whether you're a professional athlete, whether you are working for a law firm, whether you are a real estate developer, whatever you're doing, you have to be comfortable in uncomfortable situations, because if not, you're always going to stay on the same level. So
that comfort zone gets stuck.
Yeah.
Like I see that every day, with people that's like, people are struggling, they think they don't have time to do something. They don't think they have time to go work on something, but at the end of the day, we all have the same amount of time. People
exactly
prioritize, or they just say, I have to do that, and they do it. And that's one of the reasons why I want to talk about this stuff, because like at the end of the day, I started a podcast, last year. I didn't know what the fuck I was doing. I just decided I was going to do it, and I was going to figure it out.
Exactly.
And I can tell just in our short time spending time together talking about this stuff, like when you make your mind up about something, you're going to do it. You're going to figure it out.
Exactly. Mm-hmm.
And I believe there's certain things you have or you don't. Like I'm never going to touch a rim, a basketball. It's just never going to happen.
Yeah.
Maybe with a step stool, but that's about it. Some people are
like Mike.
right.
Yeah.
You know, throwing 100 miles an hour. Some people are either going to do it or they're not going to do it. But like the will to win, the will to, you know, achieve your goals, the ability to, you know, finish something, the ability to go after something. Like I know personally from experience that like there's certain things I didn't have, but I had learned and I grew. And, you know, one of the things I talk about all the time is that, like me personally, you know, training the subconscious brain to help you reach your goals. Like if I put my vision and my goals in front of my face every single day, and you have somebody who doesn't do that, right? And they hear the same inspirational book or movie or whatever, and one person writes their vision and goal down and what inspired them in that moment to go do something important, and they look at their goal every single day, their vision every single day, and they don't stop, versus the person who doesn't. Well, who's going to have a greater odds of reaching their vision and their goal? And I think we all know what the answer to that is. So like I adopted these things. Every single day I have a routine where I put my vision and my goal in front of me multiple times a day. And it's like, I knew that I needed that stuff to be able to push me out of my comfort zone to do these things. And, you know, I'm not going to say I'm perfect, but I do certain things every single day religiously, and I have good days and bad days, but the sum of the parts are way more than what things I was able to do before these processes. And so I know that I've manufactured this new level of thinking out of thin air because of reading books and listening to people and adopting certain things. And I love hearing stories, you know, from a LeBron James or an Mbappe and just the things that they do, because all these stories are there, you know, and it's about a matter of implementing and a matter of doing the things every single day to get you closer to your goal. You know, we talked a little bit about this before, kind of this struggle or a moment in life that just, you know, something that happens that changes the trajectory of where your direction is. Has anything happened like that in your journey that's kind of just shifted your trajectory?
Yeah, when I was playing in Portugal and at Belenenses, that was my last year of youth soccer. It was under 19. So yeah, when I had first got there, you know, there was a different coach, and I went there kind of on a tryout, and I did really well, and I was so excited, you know. And he told me, yeah, you know, I want you to come back. We like you. We want to sign you, all that, you know. And I'm like, I'm excited, you know. So then a couple months later, I end up coming back, different coach, you know. And that's not the first time that's happened to me. That's happened to me multiple times, to where, like, you know, that's just in football in general, like, you know, or in soccer, you know, things change, you know. And yeah, it probably happened in football too, all sports, you know. Coaches are there one day, not the next day, you know. So ended up being a different coach, and I got along with this coach as well. He was a good guy, but I could tell from later on, at the beginning, it started off pretty well, you know. It actually started off very well, actually. My first game, I came off the bench and I played very well. And the second game, they gave me the start. And the way the league worked in under 19 or in youth soccer in Portugal, you had a first round kind of thing to where, like, it's like 10 games, 15 games, and the top 5 teams from that round go to play against the teams in the other conference, top 5, and then the bottom 5 play against the other bottom 5, and the bottom 3 teams get relegated, obviously, with relegation and promotion in Europe. So we were in the middle. We were 6th place, and the team we were playing against, I believe, was 5th place, and we needed to win that game in order to jump, in order to be in the top bracket. So my first ever start, I come in and I scored 2 goals, you know, in my first ever start in Portugal, kind of similar to here, you know. And we ended up winning the game 2-1. And yeah, it was an amazing feeling to be able to do that. And, you know, and then from there, you know, things were good, but I started not getting as many minutes as I wanted to, or as many minutes as I felt I deserved at that time, you know. And yeah, it ended up being kind of this like roller coaster of events, which ended up to me not staying at the club. But before I left the club, I'll never forget it. Before I left the club, I had a sit down with the coach, you know, and he said to me, I'll never forget it. I was talking to him, and he told me, he said, your style of play is good for certain people, but for me, it's not good for me. And if I'm being completely honest with you, I don't think that you're gonna make it as a professional. His exact words to me. It's exactly what he said to me. And I sat in there, 19 years old, and I'm like, man, like, you know, this coach who at the time I was thinking I was like, oh my gosh, like if he doesn't rate me as a player, then man, I'm never gonna make it. Thoughts were going through my head, you know? And yeah, I went back into my room. I was crying. I was like, man, like I might not, this dream that I've had since I was a kid to play professional soccer, and now look at what's going on. Like, I hate this, you know, just feeling sorry, feeling bad, you know. And luckily I had my brother. He was living in Portugal at the time as well, and obviously my family, you know. And that's why I was talking to you about having the right people around you. You know, they were just encouraging me, you know, letting me know that just because something doesn't work out the way you think, or just because something doesn't work out in the specific time frame that you had, doesn't mean it's not going to work out. You know, I believe a lot of the biggest CEOs and the people that are running all these Fortune 500 companies, a lot of them at the age of 40, you know, were working jobs that would not make the amount of money that they're making now. You know, they were working just normal average jobs, which there's nothing wrong with working a normal average job, but obviously they had a goal in mind for what they wanted to achieve. And so, I mean, a lot of the times I think we give ourselves these time limits, or I guess you could say the culture gives you this time limit, and they're like, oh, well, if you're not here by the age of 25, well then, oh, you're never gonna make it, or it's impossible, you know, or if you don't start investing when you're 19, you know, that Roth IRA isn't gonna be at what it needs to be when you're 60. And, you know, people just have this mindset and they're like, man, I can't do it, you know, and it stops them from actually taking the first step, you know. And so, you know, from that moment, just having the encouragement of my family, the encouragement of God, and just, you know, also encouraging myself, just telling myself like, no, I can't do this. I've been doing this since I was a kid. This is what I love to do, and I'm going to continue to fight for it. You know, fast forward from there to where I am now. And I'm just like, man, imagine if I would have given up. You know, imagine if I would have just been like, you know, I don't want to do this anymore. You know, I don't want to have to deal with these people. You know, I don't want to have to deal with all this crap. Let me just give up. And that, I believe, that right there is the biggest reason why someone with talent doesn't make it, is they give up. I knew a lot of guys that I played with when I was younger. They had more talent than me. You know, they were more talented than me with the ball. Technically, they were better than me with the ball. You know, they probably had even higher IQs at that time than me, you know? And I look at them and I'm like, how did he not make it, or how did he not get to that level? And a lot of the time, it's just, people just give up, you know? And for some people, it's not meant for them. For some people, they just they don't have the desire to do it. And so I don't believe that's giving up. I think that some people, they just don't have the desire to do it. Someone might have the desire to be in real estate. Someone might have the desire to be a coach. Someone might have the desire to be a plumber, whatever you have the desire to be, you know? So, but if you had that desire and that's what you wanted for yourself, and because of a setback, you just gave up, for me, that is the number one killer of dreams, I believe. It's just not, you know, continuing to keep going.
So at that point in time, right, you're in Portugal, that coach gives you that message, you're crying, right? Like, you know, like in that moment, you're feeling a certain way, and then you fast forward the next day, you have the support around you, the family around you, other people around you that are encouraging yourself, like you said. When you look back at the next sequence of events, is there something that you did that you probably wouldn't have done, or extra something you did that you wouldn't have done if you didn't have that conversation with that person that pushed you to those lows?
Man, pain will, like, when you've been doing something your whole life and you've fallen in love with it, the pain of rejection will cause you to do certain things. And I think from that day forward, I literally made it my goal that I'm like, I'm going to prove him wrong. Like, I literally made it my goal. I was like, I'm going to prove him wrong. I'm going to prove every single person that looked at me like I was crazy for going and play in Europe when I was 17 and not going to college. Every single person that looked at me like, oh, that was a stupid idea. You shouldn't have did that. You should have just went to college. You know, you should have got a degree. How are you going to get a job? You know, things like that. I looked at that and I was like, I'm going to prove all of you wrong, you know? And that was my mindset then. I wouldn't say that's still my mindset now, because at this point, I don't need to prove anyone wrong. I'm just, you know, I don't need to prove anything to anyone. At this point, I believe and I know that, you know, I believe in myself and I believe in like I said, I believe in the talent that God has given me. So, but definitely at that point, being a 19-year-old kid, you're like, man, I'm going to prove you wrong. You know, I'm going to show all of you that, you know. And so, yeah, from that day, literally the next day, my dad, I ended up, you know, from the next day after the conversation, I ended up finding a way to end up leaving, you know, and I didn't leave the next day. It took some time, but maybe like a month or so. And then, yeah, from then I started getting into training extra harder, you know, and just putting in extra work, you know, and all the things that he told me that I wasn't good at, all the things that he told me I didn't do well, I literally started working on those specific things. Like in practice, I would literally like just, you know, in individual training, like when my dad would always do individual training with me, like my dad would be like, what do you want to work on? I'm like, I want to work on this. My dad would be like,
what's one example of one thing that guy told you that you weren't good at?
One of the things that he told me that I wasn't good at was my hold-up play. That was one of the things, and hold-up play is kind of like when you're big, you're a striker, when they play the ball into you, to hold up the ball and kind of like let your attackers come up, so you buy time, pretty much. It's just you buying time, you know. And that was one of the things that he was just telling me that, you know, I think you should work on that. That's something that, you know, if you can't do, then you're not going to make it at the highest level, you know. And so yeah, I ended up working on that, you know, every single day with my dad, you know, and obviously it's still something that I work on till today. But that's definitely probably the biggest thing that I would say that he said to me, that I was like, all right, I'm going to prove you wrong, you know.
So, you know, you mentioned in kind of at that moment in time, that pain that was a fuel, and then over time, you know, experiences change how you look at things in terms of what drives you. Mm-hmm. But that sequence of events, you go to work, you work on these certain things. Mm-hmm. When was the next point when you said, hey, you know what, like, I got this. I'm gonna get there. Like that maybe was a success or a win, or what was that thing that you said, you know what, this is gonna happen?
So, funny enough, it actually happened while I was still playing for them, while I was still on that team. So after he had that conversation with me and all of those things, I believe it was, I forget around exactly what time it was, but from that day, my playing time started to diminish. I wasn't playing as much, but I still stayed for a while. I still stayed for at least I think 5 or 6 more games. It was like a month or maybe a month and a half, maybe 2 months. My memory is not the greatest on that, but I tried to kind of, but yeah. So I ended up staying for a little bit longer before I left, and I ended up playing 2 more games. And I didn't start in those games, but I came off the bench, just utterly destroying us. And I come off the bench and I score, you know, and I have a very good game, you know. And after the game, the coach of their team was like, yeah, man, you're a good player. Like, well, you know, why aren't you playing, you know? And I just look at him and just like, I don't know, you know? So yeah, we move on from there. And then the next game I come on is against the second best team in Portugal. And I did not end up scoring that game, but I ended up coming on for the last 10 minutes, 15 minutes and playing very well. And specifically after that goal that I scored against Benfica, I was like, man, like, I don't care what anybody tells me, like, I can do this, you know? I don't care what they say, you know? I've shown that I can do this, you know? I've shown people that I can do this. And at the end of the day, one thing I always tell people is football or soccer is a sport of, a lot of the things that go on in soccer have to do with opinion. Just like in all sports, a lot of it has to do with opinion. Certain people might not like the way you play. They might not like the way you run. They might not like the way you do certain things, you know? That doesn't mean you're not good. It's just they might not like the way you do things. That's why you have to be in an environment to where they like the way you do things, or you have to be in an environment to where they know how to implement your style to help the team succeed, you know? And so you might be in a place where, oh wow, you know, they don't think that what I offer can help the team succeed. And that might not be true. It might not be true that what you can offer can't help the team succeed. It might just be that they don't believe it can, you know? And so if you kind of just base everything that you're doing off of someone's opinion and you're, oh, well, he said this, so that obviously must mean I can't do this. And you're going to go down a tough road, you know? So yeah, that self-belief and just believing in yourself and believing that, man, I can achieve what I need to achieve as long as I keep going at it, but also realizing that, hey, there are certain things that you got to work on too. You know, like for example, when that coach had told me what I needed to work on, it wasn't just like I was like, oh, I don't care what you have to say, I'm a good player. I know what I can do. I know how good I am. You know, I know the quality I have. No, it's like, okay, yeah, I know I'm a good player. I know the quality, I know the talent I have. But let's just be completely honest. He wouldn't be coaching at that level if he didn't know what he was doing to a degree. I'm not going to act like he just had no idea what he was doing, you know. So obviously you can take some of the things that he tells you and you're like, okay, you know, I do see that I need to work on that. So I'm going to go out and I'm going to work on it and I'm going to get better, you know. So yeah.
Kind of digging into the weeds on soccer, is there something that you know today or knew at 20 or 21 that if you could tell yourself at 17 or 16 or 18 that could have helped you get a little further, a little faster? It's a skill or a workout routine or something that really would have changed your trajectory back then?
Man, that mental toughness, man. When you're that mental toughness is probably the number one thing I would have told myself, because man, when you're younger, when you're 16, 17, you kind of think you're it. Like you just in your mind, especially if growing up you were told that, you're like, oh yeah, you're a good player, you know, you're really good. You know, in your mind you'll kind of just be like, you know what, I am really good, you know. Knowing, you know, you can't talk to me that way because I know what I am and I know how good I am, you know. But I think having that mental toughness to actually believe that and to actually show it every single day. One of my favorite players, if not my favorite players, Kobe Bryant. You know, rest in peace. I just loved his mentality. I loved the way he did things. It didn't matter if Kobe was 0 for 15, he was gonna keep shooting. You know, it didn't matter if Kobe had a torn Achilles, he was gonna keep shooting, you know? And so yeah, I believe that having that mental toughness from a young age and being able to not be swayed and moved by opinions and what people say is a very great skill that you have to learn. For some people, in my opinion, Kobe was born with that. Kobe was born with that skill to be able to do that. And some people are. But a lot of us, we have to learn it. You have to learn that, man, I got to keep speaking good things to myself, you know? And so I would definitely have told myself that from when I was about 15, 16. So do this.
So I know we're kind of running out of time here, but from a soccer standpoint, we got end of the season coming up pretty soon.
Yeah,
you know,
zoom by.
I mean, I'll be honest, I've never watched an MLS game in my entire life until this year, and it's just amazing. Like the style that you guys play is just so fast. You guys are pushing the ball up and down the field, and that's pretty rare, isn't that pretty rare?
Yeah, not all teams. Actually, yeah, not many teams play that style because it requires so much. You know, it requires a lot of effort from your players, and luckily we have a great group of guys in the locker room that want to work for each other and want to fight for each other and have a goal, you know, and so yeah, not everyone plays that style, but I mean, I enjoy it. I enjoy playing that style, and like I said, if the coaches of the team know the type of players that they have, they'll know the type of style that they need to implement in order to get the best out of them, you know. So yeah, you're not gonna kick an orange to get the juice out of it. You're gonna squeeze it, you know. So you have to know exactly how to put things. You have to know the way to fashion things in order to get the best out of what you have.
You were talking about Kobe and his kind of background and what he stands for, and kind of Jordan. Mm-hmm. There's this video I remember seeing of Dennis Rodman on those teams back in the day, and him like spending like an hour and a half on the stair step machine after a game and getting all the all the blood flowing and all that stuff. Is there somebody on the team or somebody you've been around that's just got this unique where they do things or unique things they do after or before games that just gets them ready to go? Something just that's quirky on the team?
I wouldn't say necessarily after the games. I've always wondered with that because I love Kobe and I love Michael Jordan. I love the NBA in general. I love the NBA, and I used to always be like, how can they, after a game, for example, be on the Stairmaster for an hour and a half? It's not possible for a soccer player. I'm sorry. It's literally not to do that specific because it's just the amount of energy that you put into running and playing every single day. It's not possible. I'm not saying you can't do other things. You can, But to do that is very difficult. But also the style and the game of basketball is different to soccer. I mean, the capacity and the output that, I mean, for example, they have back-to-back games sometimes. You know, they'll play Wednesday and play Thursday, or they'll play Wednesday and play Friday. Soccer, you play at most 2 times a week. And if you're playing 3 times a week, man, like our last week, we played 3 times in a week, and man, we were tired, you know? So yeah, but I've always looked at that, and I would always be so intrigued by that. But I would definitely say that in terms of recovery and in terms of putting your body and putting yourself in the best position to recover quickly, so that, let's say you do have a game in the next 2 or 3 days, you're ready. One of the players that I've definitely seen that is very good with that is a guy named Kyle Hebert. It's a friend of mine. He is a defender, you know, and I always see him before the games, he's doing his stretches, you know. After the game, he's doing his ice bath, or he's doing his, you know, or his cold tub, or he's doing his hot tub, or, you know. And so, yeah, he's one of the players that I've seen. Great guy. So, yeah.
Cool. Well, it's been a pleasure. Spend time with you to learn more about kind of what you got on the side, the entrepreneurial stuff, and the real estate, and the soccer, and the background, and the stories. And so, wishing you and the team the best of luck coming home stretch, and just can't wait to hear more about what you have going on in the future with all the stuff.
Thank you. I really appreciate it. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely.